Churchill said, solitary trees, if they grow at all, they grow strong. Welcome, Naveen Jain, CEO of inome, with a soliloquy, Change and the Entrepreneurial Mindset. Welcome, Naveen.
Thank you. Thank you, Avery. All right, it's time to wake up now. Time for sleep is over. So let's talk about, is there any problem in the world that innovation and entrepreneurship can't solve? And the answer is no. There is absolutely nothing that we can't solve through innovation and entrepreneurship. So let's talk about what is innovation, what's entrepreneurship, and how do we make a sustainable, scalable change. So let me start out with something what it's not. If you believe you are an expert in something, then you are more or less useless in that field. In fact, no disruptive solution can ever come from an expert. All disruptive solutions come from non-experts. The experts are very good at incremental evolution, and ask Shell. They will come up with a better way of doing the same things and continues to get better and better and better at it. Someday, the disruptive solution is going to come, and it's going to come from the left field. It is going to come in every industry, whether you are in a pharmaceutical industry, whether you are in the automotive industry. Every industry is going to get disrupted because there's going to be somebody from outside the industry who thinks very differently. And I'll come back and tell you why does that happen. It happens for a very simple reason. How does our mind process information? If you look at from a neuroscience perspective, we evolved to be human. And we evolved to be human for one simple reason, because we were designed and optimized for survival and procreation. And survival meant find a way to find the patterns and match those patterns. It so happens, by the time you become an expert on a subject, you start to develop a lot of patterns in that field. Anytime you see a problem, you have a pattern or a solution that matches with that problem. What do? You can improve on it. But when you are completely non-expert and you have absolutely no pattern, the way the neocortex works is it continues to move that up at the 6th level of neocortex, where you're starting to look at abstraction. And when you're finding the problem to a solution in complete abstract. Let me give you a couple of examples. We all remember the Gulf oil spill. And there was a BP spent $20 billion trying to clean up that oil spill. As you know, I'm on the board of X Prize. We thought, why can't we come up with a better way of cleaning the oil? That same technology that was used by Exxon Valdez is being used by BP. For a $1.4 million prize, not a billion, $1.4 million prize. We launched a prize to see, can you come up with a solution that's at least twice as good? Imagine when one of the finalist team was a team of a guy from a tattoo parlor, a mechanic, and a dentist. It sounds like a start of a joke. But that's exactly what happened. These people got together and built a solution that was 4 times better than what BP was using to clean the oil, because they had no idea how to do it. The tattoo parlor guy asked the mechanic, did you hear about the $1.4 million prize? He said, I heard about it. You're kind of a mechanic. Why can't you put something together? He said, I don't know much about drilling, but I got a dentist who drills a lot. Maybe we'll all get together and build something. And that's what they did. So think about when you're coming out with a totally disruptive solution. Now look at the pharmaceutical industry. Today, pharmaceutical industry, people who are absolutely progressive are thinking maybe their competition comes from other pharmaceutical industries. And people who are really, really progressive, they think it might be coming from some type of biotech companies. But imagine a day when every genome is sequenced. We know everything about epigenetics. We know everything about proteomics. We know everything about connectomes. That becomes a statistical problem, and the companies that are going to come up with a solution for that disease are going to be companies like Google's and Microsoft, not the biotech and the pharmaceutical companies. So think about your competition is going to come from the industry that knows how to crunch the big data. Because it's not. It becomes a simple mathematical, statistical problem about finding what causes what. We are not looking for correlation, but we are looking for causation. And once you have everything being sequenced and you have all the data, you'll be able to find the causation of, rather than just the correlation, which is what pharmaceutical companies do today. So let's talk about how do we go about making the change happen. One of the interesting things is you can't solve, all of us in this room who are entrepreneurs know, you can't create a billion-dollar company by solving $1 million problem. If you want to create a billion-dollar company, you solve a $10 billion problem. And if you want to solve the $10 billion problem, it so happens they happen to be large problems. So you have to think about scale. And that is one reason we have spent trillions of dollars trying to solve the philanthropic dollar, trillions of philanthropic dollars, trying to solve the problem around education, the health, the clean water, and we cannot get there. Because fundamentally, the philanthropists don't think like an entrepreneur. So let me define what an entrepreneur is. An entrepreneur, there are 3 types of people in the world. People who see the problem. Let's just call them human beings because we're really good at finding the problem. We walk up and down every day. God, that's a big problem. Why doesn't someone do something about it? We never say, what can I do about it? No, we always look. We are a problem looker. We find problems. Some of us in this room are also probably find a solution to that problem. And we call them visionaries. So these people are visionaries. At the end of the day, there are few people in this world who go out and do something about it. And those are the people I call entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are the people who go out and solve the problem, not the people who think about a problem, not the people who come up with a solution, but the people who go out and do something about it. As an entrepreneur, it's never about a breakthrough idea. Those are the damn VCs who don't know a shit about starting a company will tell you, I'm looking for a breakthrough idea. Nobody ever built a company about breakthrough ideas. The companies are built around flawless execution. So if you want to build a great company, execute flawlessly. Use somebody else's ideas. It doesn't have to be your ideas. Idea the dime a dozen. Your cab driver probably has 10 ideas. Just execute on one of them. So it all comes down to what is it that you can go out and do about it. So let's go look at some of the big problems and how would we solve them. So let's look at the problem of education, which is one of the things that Churchill Club laid out, a challenge for us. How do we solve a problem around education when there are 1 billion people, 1 billion people who have no access to education? The easiest thing a philanthropist does is what I call feel-good philanthropy. I go out and build a school because it feels so good because I came from a village. I grew up so poor. Many of you probably know it's obvious that I came from India. In fact, we were so poor we had no food to eat. We didn't have a place to stay. We moved from places to places all over the country. And most of my education was done in places where there were no tables, no chairs, no whiteboard. We sat on the floor, we wrote on the floor, and we studied. Despite that, my sister went on to do a postdoctorate in applied mathematics. My brother had a PhD in computer science and mathematics, and I'm the least educated person in engineering and MBA. So it is never about you're poor. It's never about you didn't have a good college. It is about does the family valued education or not. Coming back to it, today, any which way you look at it, God has been very kind to us. And I want to go back and see what can I do to give back to the society that has given me so much. And absolutely the easiest thing for me to do would be to let's go build a school in the villages I lived in. Maybe I found there was no hospitals there. Maybe I should build a hospital. Since I'm so generous, I should build 10 of them in 10 villages. Maybe 100 villages. But guess what? It doesn't move the needle. It makes me feel really good. But it doesn't move the needle. It's not going to solve any problem. There are 1 billion people out there. So if you want to solve a big problem, you have to make it scalable. How do you make it scalable? You take the infrastructure problem, convert that into an information gap problem. What is the information gap problem? Education is not about having a school. Education is about delivering the information that the kids need in a way that the kids can absorb. So I can spend more time telling you about how human brain works. But let's assume, hypothetically, if we can come up with an education system that's as effective as a private tutor and as addictive as the most addictive video game, then you would have changed the education system. And there is absolutely no reason you couldn't do that. I can tell you how to go out and activate the various neurochemicals and how to go out and come up with an education system that actually works. Our education system was designed for an industrial era, and it's designed like an industrial conveyor belt. In the industrial era, it was simply you learned a skill that you can use for the rest of your life. In the exponentially growing technology where everything you learn becomes obsolete by the time you get out of it, there is no reason to learn. Today, in fact, when you have a smartphone, you have access to more information than you will ever need. In fact, more information than President Clinton had as a president. Every child has more information to facts. You don't need to teach the facts. You need to teach them how to reason, how to learn. But let's assume all that is very doable. We can build an education system that's designed how human brain thinks, and it could be more effective than a private tutor and more addictive than a video game. Now, healthcare, similarly, as opposed to building the healthcare, what if you can come up with a simple expert system AI program that has the sensors built into a $25 tablet? A village girl can go out and diagnose every common disease in a village where there is no hospital. That village, as opposed to getting abused, now becomes a village doctor, and that village doctor gets respected, and you can make it sustainable. You don't have to give it away. You charge $1 per month for this device, and when you charge $1, she can go out and charge 10 cents, 15 cents per patient and build a great business. And then that's what I call sustainable, scalable change. There is nothing I can go on. How do you solve the problem around clean water? There are a billion ways. What if you can develop a synthetic bacteria that will go out and kill everything that human's body can't absorb? What if you say that clean water is a big problem? 70% of the clean water is used for agriculture. What if we change genetically the seeds so they can use the salt water so all that fresh water comes back for the humanity? What if 70% of the land that's being used to raise the cattle, if you can raise simply the biofactories, that you can create the meat that you want in a biofactories exactly the same way that the nature does. So take the stem cell and create the biofactories where you only create the muscle tissues. Why do you have to create the bones and the eyes and the retina? You don't eat them. So you can simply have the biofactories that have nothing but the muscle tissues. So you can now go out and have exactly the same meat that your nature does, and you can eat that. You don't have to use the land. You don't have to feed the things, and it all comes back. So you can start to see that whether it's energy, it doesn't matter. You can use the salt water and a synthetic bacteria to convert the salt water into a fossil fuel. You can, whether it's a solar energy, there are plenty of ways to go out and create abundance. The problem is we all look at the world and saying there are 7 billion people today on Earth. What if there are 10 billion people? How would we solve that problem? And we say, well, we have to really, for sustainability, we have to use conservation. Conservation is not how humans think. You can't use less of what you have to create of what you need. So go out and create what you need rather than use of what you have. And if you can, only way you can create abundance is give up the way how you think of sustainability as a conservation. Think of sustainability as a creation. And we can all go out and create more of what we need. More education, better education, more healthcare, cheaper healthcare, affordable healthcare, more clean water, better energy, cheaper energy, distributed energy. So all I can say is, please be an entrepreneur. Don't be human beings who think of a problem. Don't be a visionary who think of a solution. Go out and do something about it. And it's much easier to create a $1 billion company than it is to create a $100 million company. So go out and make a big change. Thank you.